Imagine a world where monarchs reign supreme, where the voice of the common man has little to no bearing on the affairs of the state. In the latter half of the 18th century, this was not a matter of imagination. It was reality. The world was a vast chessboard with kings and queens, dukes and duchesses moving the pieces. The common man, merely pawns in this grand game of power and control. This was an era where the concept of democracy, of government by the people for the people, was largely unheard of. Instead, power was concentrated in the hands of the few, those of royal blood or those with the wealth to buy influence. In Europe, the monarchies held sway. From the sun-drenched vineyards of France under Louis XVI to the frozen expanses of Russia under Catherine the Great, monarchs ruled with an iron fist. Their word was law, their whims could shape the fate of their subjects, and their courts were a swirling mix of intrigue and power plays. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the American colonies were under the thumb of the British Empire. The colonists, many of whom had left their homelands seeking freedom and opportunity, found themselves subject to the whims of a king and parliament, an ocean away. Taxation without representation was the order of the day, and the growing discontent was like a powder keg, waiting for a spark. Yet, in these colonies, ideas of liberty, of equality, of self-governance were beginning to take root. Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke and Voltaire were challenging the status quo, their writings seeping through society, sowing the seeds of revolution. The New World was on the cusp of a new age, an age that would redefine the concept of government and the rights of individuals. This was the world that preceded the drafting of the Declaration of Independence, a world on the brink of great change. In this world of monarchs and empires, a group of visionaries dared to imagine a different future. In the late spring of 1776, this group of visionaries, known as the Continental Congress, convened in Philadelphia. They were united by a shared vision of a nation free from the oppressive grip of the British Crown. Among them were individuals of immense intellect and foresight, like Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and John Adams. Their task? To draft a document that would not only declare their independence, but would lay the groundwork for a new kind of government. Thomas Jefferson, a young Virginian with a keen intellect and a way with words, was chosen to write the first draft. His motivations were clear. He believed in the inherent rights of man, the importance of liberty, and the necessity of a government that was of the people, by the people, and for the people. The document he penned was revolutionary, not just in its rejection of British rule, but in its assertion of a new political philosophy. It declared that all men were created equal, that they were endowed with certain unalienable rights, that among these were life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These were not just lofty ideals, but principles that would become the bedrock of the new nation. The Declaration was not just Jefferson's work, though. It was a collaborative effort, with the other members of the Congress debating, amending, and ultimately approving the document. Each of them brought their own perspectives and motivations to the drafting process, making the Declaration a collective expression of their shared vision. The signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776 was not just a bold declaration of independence from Britain, it was an assertion of a new kind of governance, a beacon of hope for those yearning for freedom and equality. This audacious act marked the beginning of a revolution, not just in America, but across the world. The Declaration of Independence did not just announce the birth of a new nation, it ignited a spark that would forever change the American landscape. Let's delve into the immediate aftermath of the Declaration. It was a bold statement, a rallying cry that united the 13 colonies. The colonies, previously divided by varying interests and identities, found a common cause in their shared aspiration for freedom. This unity was instrumental in fueling the Revolutionary War. A war that wasn't just about territory or power, but about the right to self-determination, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration's influence didn't stop at the end of the war. It was the cornerstone that influenced the formation of the United States Constitution. The Constitution borrowed heavily from the ideals professed in the Declaration. The preamble of the Constitution echoes the Declaration's sentiments, emphasizing justice, domestic tranquility, and the general welfare of the people. The Declaration also had a profound impact on American society. It emphasized the concept of equality, a belief that all men are created equal. This idea, revolutionary at the time, challenged the existing social order and laid the groundwork for future movements advocating for civil rights and social justice. The Declaration did not merely declare the independence of the American colonies. It was a declaration of a new political philosophy, one that valued individual liberty and representative government. Its principles were not just for the founding fathers or the people of that era, but for all generations to come. It was a beacon of hope, a promise of a society where power was vested in the people, not in a monarch or a privileged few. It was a vision of a nation where the government was of the people, by the people, and for the people. The Declaration of Independence laid the foundation for the democratic principles that continue to guide America today. The ripples of the Declaration of Independence were not confined to the shores of America. They reached far and wide, echoing across oceans and continents. The spirit of the Declaration, that all men are created equal and are endowed with certain unalienable rights, resonated powerfully around the globe. It was a clarion call for nations, a bold assertion that governance should be in the hands of the people, not a monarch or a ruling elite. In France, the Declaration of Independence served as a philosophical backbone for the French Revolution. The French Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, penned in 1789, bore a striking resemblance to the American document, underscoring the inalienable rights of individuals and the sanctity of freedom. Across the Atlantic, the Latin American wars of independence in the early 19th century were heavily influenced by the principles enshrined in the American Declaration. Leaders like Simon Bolivar, who played a crucial role in liberating nations such as Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador, drew inspiration from the American struggle for independence. In the 20th century, the Declaration continued to inspire freedom movements. In India, the world's largest democracy, leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru were inspired by the ideals of liberty, equality, and justice outlined in the Declaration. Even today, the Declaration's influence persists. It continues to serve as a touchstone for human rights advocates around the world, a reminder that the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness is a universal aspiration, not confined to any one nation or people. In essence, the Declaration of Independence didn't just birth a new nation. It birthed a new world order, one in which the ideals of democracy, freedom, and equality took center stage. It set a precedent, a blueprint for nations to follow, and ignited a flame of freedom that continues to burn brightly. The Declaration of Independence stands as a beacon of freedom and democracy, inspiring nations and peoples to this day. The Declaration of Independence, a document born out of an audacious dream, has left an indelible mark on history. In a world before its inception, the concept of a people's right to self-governance was a distant thought, if not outrightly dismissed. The drafting of this pivotal document was a daring endeavor, a bold assertion of freedom from colonial rule, and a proclamation of inherent human rights. The Declaration, with its profound principles and revolutionary ideas, has undeniably shaped the course of American history. It was the bedrock on which the United States was built, setting the stage for the nation's journey towards democracy. It was a beacon of hope and a symbol of defiance, a rallying cry that inspired the colonies to unite and fight for their freedom. But the reach of the Declaration extended far beyond the borders of the newly formed United States. Its ripple effects were felt across the globe, influencing the course of numerous revolutions and serving as a model for other nations striving for self-determination. It was a bold statement to the world that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The principles set forth by the Declaration didn't just transform America, they transformed the world. They served as the foundation for modern democratic societies, championing the idea that governance should be by the people and for the people. It was a radical departure from the norm, a daring proposition that challenged the status quo and dared to envision a different future. The Declaration of Independence was more than just a piece of parchment with ink. It was, and continues to be, an embodiment of an idea of freedom, of equality, and of the inalienable rights of individuals. It's a testament to the audacity of hope and the power of dreams. In a world dominated by monarchs and empires, the Declaration of Independence dared to envision a different future, a future where the power rested with the people.